Hello, everyone. Welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbaloye in Abuja. Tonight, we'll be giving you updates on what is happening within the Labour Party. It looks like the party is imploding and the center is no longer holding, but where will it get is holding right now, because picketing every day that we're hearing and what is going on within the party, the activities, the back and forth. Well, I would like to bring you up to speed with what the national chairman is saying before our conversation tonight, but also we need to check with the Tinubu government how the economy is doing. There are some friends of the government and some technocrats and some heavyweights within the economic and the financial sector that were called by the president. They sat on the table and they're supposed to tell the president the fact and the truth about the state of the economy. Tonight, we get one of those whom the voices is respected in Nigeria as far as the economy is concerned. And we need to check what the temperature of the Nigerian economy, whether it's still a sick economy or an ailing economy, or is getting better. We'll be checking all of that tonight with me. One of the topmost Nigerian economists will be joining me tonight on the program to check whether or not we are going forward or we're just marking time in the same space. But of course, I will also be telling you later on the program the response of the governor of Delta State, Mr. Sheriff Oboreveri, but that will be at some point on the program also. So there's so much to tell you on the program, so stick around, everyone. Before we get started with our very first conversation on the program, let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
President Bola Tinubu has placed a temporary ban on all publicly funded foreign trips for all federal government officials with effect from April 1, 2024. The suspension was contained in a circular dated March 12, 2024. And Vice President Kashim Shettima has asked state governors to ensure they prioritize the welfare of their people. The Vice President, who chaired the virtual meeting of the National Economic Council from his office at the Presidential Villa in Abuja, says the federal government has embarked on a review of the ease of doing business policy to ensure more investors are attracted into the country.
We must also ensure that interventions we deploy are non-discriminatory and favor all stakeholders, with no part of our communities or nation lagging behind.
The Senate has commenced the amendment of the Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters Act of 2018 with a view to strengthen the fight against terrorism financing in Nigeria. The bill, sponsored by Senator Emmanuel Udende, representing Benue Northeast, seeks to ensure Nigeria's compliance with current Financial Action Task Force recommendations on the fight against money laundering and terrorism financing. In his lead debate, Senator Udende explained that the act, when amended, will enable Nigeria exit the grey list through international country risk guide mechanism. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, is urging media organizations to engage with political parties as well as the aspirants to give an in-depth report of their activities. He said this during a consultative meeting with media executives ahead of the Edo and Ondo State off-cycle governorship elections in Abuja. Professor Yakubu explains that this will further strengthen the nation's democracy and enhance transparency in the election process.
INEC does not believe in censorship. The best antidote to fake news is greater openness and transparency. It is in furtherance of this policy that the Commission interfaces regularly with stakeholders through our regular consultative meetings.
Thank you so much. There you have it. You've been up to date now with your political roundup stories. So let's get into it. Yesterday, we saw the picketing of the national headquarters of the Labour Party. But today, it was the turn of the Edo State chapter of the Labour Party, where the members of the Nigerian Labour Congress in Edo State sealed off the Edo State office of the Labour Party. The state vice chairman of the party in the state, Mr. Sulaiman Abubakar, says that their action was in accordance with a directive from the political commission arm of the party.
president to picket the Labour Party in all the 36 states of the country, because the secretariat is being run like a personal enterprise. And this, as we all know, Labour Party belongs to Labour. So since he decided to run, Abure decided to be running it like his personal business, the NLC at the national level has directed that we should picket all their state secretariat and local governments. So this is what we have come here to do.
All right, you heard him. Yesterday, of course, we saw the national headquarters of the Labour Party being picketed by the NLC, members of the NLC, who are saying there are also statutory members of the Labour Party who will be getting insight on what this means. Don't forget, this is the party that Mr. Peter Obi ran as presidential candidate in 2023. And in the aftermath of the election, there's been a lot of crises within the party. Of course, Mr. Julius Abure, who is a national chairman of the party, the man in the eye of the storm, has been speaking about this matter. He addressed a press conference. Now I'll allow you to listen to what he said at that press conference.
Nigeria Labour Congress under the leadership of Joe Akeredolu is not above the law. And the law precludes Joe Akeredolu and the leadership of the NLC to do what they did today to the office of the Labour Party, where they besieged the office, broke the office, destroyed the faces of the office, destroyed the gates of the office, unlawfully took possession of the secretariat, and destroyed properties worth billions of naira and properties of the party stolen away, including monies made for salaries and several other things were stolen from the office. And I think that this is unfortunate, this is unrealistic, this is becoming unbecoming.
That's Mr. Julius Abure there addressing the press conference. Mr. Julius Abure has been accused by members of the party over financial impropriety, allegations of fraud, allegations of mismanagement of fund. Members and some chieftains of the party, in fact, governorship candidates of the Labour Party in 2 different states have come out to the public to accuse the national chairman of Channels Television. We've reached out to Mr. Julius Abure through phone calls and text messages severally to come to the public right there, give him the platform to explain that this is a public a platform that he needs to explain himself and explain his stance over some of the resources that's been put into his hand, especially those who are following followers of the Labour Party. Mr. Julius Abure has not been forthcoming. We do advise him that he needs to come forward and explain to Nigerians where those funds are and the administration and management of the Labour Party. There's been a major contention, though, as to what is the relationship of the NLC? What is the business of NLC, the TUC, and Labour Party tonight? And we will be digging further in the coming days, because how the political parties are being run eventually affect governance, affect the lives and the livelihoods of Nigerians, the welfare of Nigerians. If the political parties, those who want to be in political office, are not properly conducting themselves, then it in turn affects the bottom line, those who govern us. And so we'll be putting a lot of attention on how the political parties are running in the coming days. So tonight, we want to hear from one person who has been the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Mr. Ayuba Waba, joins me live here in our Abuja studio. Thanks so much, Mr. Waba, for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you, Mr. Seun, for having me, and good evening, viewers.
Yeah. For the knowledge that we have and what we know about the Labour Party, we know that is an affiliation of the NLC and the TUC to the Labour Party. And it looks like the Labour Party is a political wing of the NLC. It looks so much so, based on the relationship that we have seen. In fact, there are those who even argue further that within the constitution of the Labour Party, that the NLC is clearly captured. There are those who also will argue that, in fact, members and chieftains of the NLC are statutory members in the leadership of the Labour Party. So the question is, what is the business of NLC in Labour Party?
Well, thank you very much, Seun. We have tried to answer this question severally on several occasions, but I think the conflict that have arose now gave us an opportunity to continue to shed more light. First and foremost is that the Labour Party was formed by the NLC in realization of a clear objective in the constitution of the NLC. Under Article 3 and Item 1, the major objective of the NLC is to promote, defend, and advance the economic, political, and social rights and well-being of Nigerian workers and pensioners.
So NLC owns Labour Party?
We own the Labour Party. It was formed under the leadership of Pascal Bafiao as Party for Social Democracy. Under Adams, organs decided to change the name to Labour Party. And the first chairman is SOZ Ejiofor, who later handed over to Dan Onyawu. As of today, the registry certificate of the Labour Party is in custody of the NLC. And therefore, this is in tandem with what happens globally. If you hear about Workers' Party in Brazil, it was formed by a counterpart, CUT of Brazil. If you hear about Labour Party in the UK, which for 150 years was in the Teachers' Union Office Secretariat, formed by the unions. If we hear about the Labour Party in Australia, in New Zealand, all of them are actually formed by the workers in realization of the fact that what is politics in itself? Because it's good you understand what is politics. Politics is about how you are governed. And therefore, in defending those rights, workers also have a right to have some of those platforms to defend their rights. And that's why you can have an Okada rider now having a platform to contest and become member of the House of Rep. The essence of it is actually to be sure that we have a platform where workers, pensioners, academia, in many climes, it is people that have excelled in their various disciplines that actually go into politics. And in most cases, because of the constraint of money, they cannot also find space in some of the bigger political parties. So the essence of forming the party is to make sure that workers, pensioners, farmers can be able to have a platform to exercise their rights, which is enshrined in Section 40 of the Constitution, which Justice Uwais in 2003 has expounded on it in a landmark judgment to say workers and civil servants in particular have a right to be a card-carrying members of political party to defend their right and interest. That's giving interpretation to Section 40 of our Constitution. So clear, straightforward, the party was formed by NLC, registered by NLC. It's like you build a house or you bought a car. You build a house. You have the CFO. Then you rented the apartment. So you must have an interest on how the property is managed.
Is it true that some leaders of the party, of the NLC, the Nigerian Labour Congress, are statutory members? We understand that there are 3 deputy national chairmen of the Labour Party. One must be from the TUC, one from the Labour Party. Is that what the constitution of the Labour Party says?
No, that is not true. Let me tell you what happened. Under my leadership, there had been disputes with the Labour Party, which went to court. And I want to tell you that Justice Gabriel Kolawole of the Federal High Court delivered a judgment on the 20th of March 2018 and said clearly that the Labour Party belonged to the NLC. So arising from that, there was a mediatory effort by INEC. And precisely on the 27th of June 2022, a peace was brokered, actually by INEC, and there was time of agreement. In that time of agreement, just to reach settlement, that's how we came out with the 3 deputies. One from TUC, and one from, not actually from NLC, it's a retired comrade, Ladi Ilya, who was formerly the president of NASU, Non-Academic Staff Union, and also the chairperson of the NLC National Women Commission. She retired from service, and she's serving as one of the deputies. So this is clearly what was contained in that agreement. What has brought about this particular dispute is the fact that the Labour Party leadership have not respected the content and the sanctity of that consent agreement, which was brokered by INEC. Part of it is, 1, inauguration of members of the Board of Trustees under the leadership of SOZ Ejiofor, the first chairman of the Labour Party. That was item C on the consent agreement. The second item is the conduct of congresses from wards to local government and then the National Convention. Those 2 key items have not been respected because what the NLC saw was a letter calling for a national convention. But there was also a timeline in actually the convocation of what local government congresses by the leadership of the party. And that should have taken place not later than 1 year from the signing of that consent agreement, which in law is like a judgment of a court. So this is what brought about the dispute. And coupled with what you said, many members of the party, including the treasurer, and many of the leadership have actually pointed accusing finger at the present leadership to say that, well, there have not been transparency in the management of the party. And all of this complaint, as far as I'm concerned, even during my time, have been forwarded to the NLC.
But,
so NLC need to act.
But the NLC pickets when there is a labor dispute. Well, in this sense, this is a political dispute. Why is the NLC picketing the Labour Party offices?
Simple. Dispute is dispute. Whether labor dispute or dispute relating to interest.
But the instrument of picketing by the NLC is for labor dispute.
No.
Not in this ramification.
No. The instrument of dispute can be deployed by workers. It's one of the rights in organizing. Let me tell you, organizing as enshrined in ILO Convention 98 entails many things. You organize unions, you organize actions, even strike is captured under Convention 98. So basically, what it entails is that organizing is very broad. And if you look at the compilation of the Committee on Freedom of Association of the ILO, it has actually defined that in all these cases, workers can deploy workers' power to be able to make sure that they have attention, issues are resolved. So it's to draw attention, to say that can you come to the round table so that these issues can be resolved. That's the only power that workers can deploy. That's the power that workers can deploy all over the world.
So what was the intention? To shut down the Labour Party or what, to do what exactly?
No, the intention is, can you come to the table so that the issues can be resolved?
What would be the table now?
The table...
That Julius Abure should step down?
No,
or what?
To respect the sanctity of the June 27th, 2002 agreement, which was brokered by INEC, and a copy forwarded to INEC. INEC is actually in custody of that particular document because, as I said, Justice Kolawole on March 2018 said the party belongs to NLC. And that's why the certificate of registration is actually with the NLC. So nobody builds a property. You have the CFO, and somebody is mismanaging the property, and you just keep quiet. It doesn't work that way because every fault of the party, people will now say, oh, Labour, you didn't manage the party very well. In fact, I can tell you that even out of office, many people have accosted me to say, well, they thought Labour Party is for the masses. Because in some cases, the forms that were sold to them for them to contest political office is even very outrageous, more than some of the big political parties. And that was not the idea.
Yeah.
The idea is even to make the forms free or collect just small fee to make sure that the party keep functioning.
What makes the Labour Party any different from the other political parties?
Ideology and philosophy of the founding party.
Is this Labour Party that we see today, is it that the Labour Party leaving that ideology?
That's what I'm trying to tell you, that they have deviated from that philosophy and ideology. And that's what NLC and the leadership across board wanted to address.
So they've hijacked the Labour Party from the NLC?
Certainly, not hijacking. The party is being mismanaged. Because in the first place, the party has its constitution. NLC has its constitution. It's just like, I give you a scenario. You build a house. You rented it out under some terms and conditions. So those terms and conditions must be respected. At any time, the tenant refuses to actually respect those terms and conditions, and you as the landlord, you have a right to say, no, can you come back? Can we discuss? Can we have a way forward? That's what is happening right now. Because this agreement I told you was signed under me. I signed the agreement. You can find copies. INEC have copies. And therefore, those terms are very sacrosanct in bringing about peace and stability in the party.
What would you say would be the way forward? I mean, and I'm hearing some calling for Julius Abure's head. Some saying he should exit the stage. Some say he has questions to answer. Some say, in fact, they filed criminal petitions against him.
Oh, in the first place, the first fact is that the term of Julius Abure actually have expired long before now. Because when that agreement was signed on the 27th of June, 2022, brokered by INEC, the National Convention ought to have taken place 1 year after the signing of that agreement. So in clear terms, in consonance with that agreement, Julius Abure's term of office have actually expired. And therefore, any attempt to extend his term of office will lead to such a dispute.
So he's overstaying his welcome?
No, certainly he has overstayed. And therefore, the best thing to do is to work with the party.
What if he wants to contest?
Yes, you can recontest, but under the conditions that have been spelled out. One, there will be congresses from ward to local government level in a very transparent way, up to the national level, just as other political parties have done it.
So
have you ever heard where Labour Party is doing convention at the ward level or at the state level?
So
no.
It is standing logic on his head by wanting to conduct a convention first
without
and coming.
Yes, without conducting ward congresses, state congresses, where it will be transparent, where our civil society allies will actually participate in the process and give us feedback, and also our structures, including the political commission. Political commission is a creation of the constitution of NLC, which actually manages or interface with the Labour Party.
But if there is a mismanagement and misappropriation of funds is a criminal allegation, and one would have thought that those of you who have interest and stake in the Labour Party, by the virtue of your position in the NLC, would have gone to the police to make a claim.
Police have done full investigation. And he has been indicted. There is a complete report which has been forwarded to me even before I left office. And therefore, we have asked police actually to prosecute him. You are aware that at the time he was actually hiding from the police. So the basic fact is that it has been established that there have been fraudulent acts within the Labour Party, and police have carried out in-depth investigation.
And it has been confirmed that Julius Abure is at the head.
Certainly. I can tell you that because those reports have been forwarded to me, even while I was in the office, and I handed over to my colleague who took over from me. So those facts have been well established. And the police ought to have carried out their
But what is
activity
the
without
NLC? If all of these facts have been established, what is the NLC waiting for that long? You've left office for over a year now. Is it? Yeah, about a year or
it's
more.
Because it's with the police. The power to prosecute is actually the police.
So why has the police not prosecuted Julius Abure?
I think the process is ongoing, because at the time I read about some blackmail about the police trying to politicize the issue, but that's not the fact. The fact is that there was a committee, it has been established, and basically some infringement have been committed, and so we should allow the police to carry out their work.
Do you imagine, for example, that Mr. Peter Obi, who was a presidential candidate of the party, in other political parties, he's going to be seen as a leader of the party, that he may, in one way or the other, intervene or lend his voice into what has been going on? Because Peter Obi's followers see him as someone who has an undented reputation. But with all of these shenanigans and all of these allegations smearing on the personality of the national chairman, don't you think that Mr. Peter Obi should have said something about this?
No, certainly I agree with you, because I remembered when we had one governor of Ondo State. He was actually the leader of the party at that time, when Dan Onya was the chairman of the party. And when such issues arose, there would be an interface. I remember I interfaced with Mimiko. I interfaced with the party then under late Salam, and we're able to actually find a way around this issue. So this is what we expect. Yes, you see, dispute of such nature is part of human endeavor. But what is important is how those disputes are resolved, and whether people are committed to resolving those issues. So I quite agree with you. Not only him, even those that have got elected on the platform of the Labour Party, I think they should show some concern to say that, well, this is a platform that is meant actually for workers, pensioners, and farmers, and they should actually come together to try to find ways and means of resolving the issue once and for all.
But naturally, Julius Abure should be in police custody based on your fact. And what would you suggest as the way forward now? Because this is a quagmire. This is a party that is imploding and is collapsing from the inside. What would you say is the way forward?
There are clear dispute resolution mechanisms. In fact, in INEC, you have a particular department that is responsible for settling such dispute. And they have tried, which I told you that, in fact, for us to reach where we are in 2022 is because INEC played its role very effectively. But you see, it takes two to tangle. Whereas the party elders may be ready, because S.O. Ijofo, the leader of the party, who is actually heading the BOT, had been so much concerned. And he has actually put everything on the table to try to find ways and means of resolving the issue. But it takes two to tangle. If, for instance, the party under the leadership of Abure are not ready actually to find means and ways of resolving the issue, then the dispute will actually continue, because you cannot force an idea on a party. But I assure you that all within the labor movement and also within the party, and even the founding fathers of the party, are concerned that they want actually this dispute to be resolved because it's a clear platform that workers, pensioners, peasants can use. And I gave you an example of how just an Okada rider tried to use this platform and he got elected and is now a member of the House of Rep. So this is what is operational in many countries around the world. In fact, politics is not a full-time job. Politics is supposed to be a part-time job. You remember the case of the Chancellor of Germany, Angela, she's a chemist. You remember history, even after she left office. They are well-celebrated public servants or professionals that come into politics as a part-time measure. And therefore, you have something doing. But in the context of Nigerian politics, people don't have anything doing. You make the politics to be a full-time job. And therefore, it is difficult for people now to manage the process in a very transparent way that can address some of those challenges that is now very visible. So I think our advice is to look at those issues, to look at those challenges, and I have urged all of them, including the leadership of the NLC, to try to see how those issues can be resolved, because our founding fathers, I have said, Pascal Bavia of blessed memory, even Comrade Adams, who then changed the name of the party, including people like Esco Toyo of blessed memory. Those are the people behind, the forces behind actually the idea of forming the Labour Party in as Party for Social Democracy in 1989. Before now, we changed the name in 2003 to Labour Party. So basically, all are concerned, but you know, it takes two to tangle. Right. The effort is still there, but I think the basic fact is to understand the challenge and the dynamics in the issue and to separate the truth from the falsehood being perpetrated by Abure and his so-called cohort. Some of us are very, very concerned because this is not how we have envisaged the Labour Party to be.
All right. Mr. Ayuba Waba, a former NLC president, was very important for us to clear the air, especially because you were, going through, and some of us who know the very recent history of the Labour Party under you and the court cases and some of the ongoings was needed for you to come and explain some of these issues. Just the same way we want Mr. Julius Abure to come out and explain himself. These issues are criminal in nature and has to affect a political party that has a huge following in the country. Thank you so much, Mr. Ayuba.
Thank you very much. I appreciate Mr. Shimon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We told you earlier that Julius Abure was approached several phone calls and text messages. We hope that he will respond for the sake of the public and clear his name in all of this. We'll take a break, everyone. But when we return, a foremost Nigerian economist will be giving us insight on the state of the Nigerian economy. Those describe the economy as an ailing economy. Those who are saying it's almost a dead economy. But Mr. Bismarck Oluwani has some information for us tonight. He will be telling us maybe we can jolt the economy under Bola Tinubu's watch back to life, or what we need to do. Maybe he's in coma. What can we do? He's a medical doctor of economics. He'll be talking to us right after this break, everyone. Join us again. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's quickly tell you that the Delta State Governor Sharif Oborivari has threatened to give trouble to any traditional ruler in the state who shields suspects involved in the killing of 4 military officers and 13 soldiers in Okwama community in Hueli South local government area of the state. The governor gave the warning when he addressed traditional rulers on the unfortunate incident in Asaba earlier today. Take a listen to the governor of Delta State.
Delta State is governed within the tenets of the rule of law and human decency. Cannot tolerate that, don't accept it. That's never happened in this city before. So we lost the Lieutenant Colonel, 2 majors, 1 captain, and 13 soldiers. We will not allow that to happen. But the question is, it has happened. What do we do? It's sufficient those who are involved. Any kingdom, this is our point to do. Any kingdom that is hiding there, you should know that that job to face similar. Don't hide anybody, don't shield anybody.
These are coming in the wake of the killing, gruesome killing of soldiers in Okwama area of Delta State, where President Tinubu has placed a temporary ban on all public-funded foreign trips for all federal government officials with effect from the 1st of April 2024. The suspension was contained in a circular dated March 12, 2024 from the State House and addressed to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. George Okume, for onward circulation to all the ministries, departments, and agencies. The presidential directive came over 3 weeks after the Federal Executive Council approved the full implementation of the 12-year-old Steve Oronsaye report recommended a merger, scrapping of government agencies and commission as a move to cut cost of governance in the country. Now, where are we at? You saw the inflation, new inflation rate that was released. It showed that from December last year, all hell was let loose. And the economy that was staggering looks so much that it's suffering from some kind of meningitis, have incurred some more diseases, and in fact, it's finding it difficult to keep itself on its feet. Now, food inflation is on the rise. All the major economic indices are southwards. So where do we go from here? So I bring for you, Nigerians, the medical doctor of economics, Mr. Bismarck Riwani. He joins us virtually from Lagos. Thank you so much, Mr. Riwani, and thank you indeed for some of the research that you are bringing to bear tonight on the program. Give us a sense. Where are we at today? The inflation rates were released by the MBS last week, and they're not good figures, anything to write home about.
Yes. The question is Nigeria economy on the mend, or is it at the bend? Quite frankly, the Nigerian economy is limping and gasping at the same time. But let us break it down. So in the past 2 months or 3 weeks, we've seen the Naira appreciate by about 28%, all the way from 1915, all the way to 1475 today. So that's good news. Nigeria has announced that the backlog of forward contract agreements on the foreign exchange market have been cleared to the airlines, and authentic claims have been cleared. Second piece of good news. The third piece of good news is that Nigeria is to refinance its existing bond obligations, right? That's also moving in the right direction, but very, very slowly. We are dealing with a populace that are anxious, angry, hungry, and very, very, very restive. So we have to take that into consideration. Nigeria's inflation is at 31.7, but food inflation is above 37% or 38%. And that is if you believe the numbers. Because when you take a synthetic basket, you will find that actually things are really difficult. And we've got to a point where people are eating less in quantity and eating inferior quality of food, thereby increasing to a large extent they're actually reducing their life expectancy and increasing their vulnerability to all sorts of shocks. Secondly, and piece of good news is that Nigeria has opened its borders with Niger and some other countries so that food can come in and food can go out at the same time. So those are the critical things. But we need to look at inflation in its real sense. And you can see from the slides that the Naira has appreciated all the way from 1915 to 1475.
Yeah. I was going to take you back to the figure, the slide on the Naira, the state of the Naira. Is this particular progression that we've seen the good news that the Naira has brought us in terms of how it has appreciated against the dollar in the last few days? Is this something that is concrete or manually regularized? Is this something that could be sustained?
Well, you see, the truth is that it's sustainable as long as you do a number of things, and I was going to come to that. One is that interest rates have been increased, therefore the propensity to save has increased, and the propensity to consume has actually reduced. People are consuming less and actually saving more if they are saving. The government itself is consuming less and actually saving more. You heard that there's a ban on travel. For the optics of it, at the same time, there's a lot of waste in government. There's a lot of leakages in government. There's a lot of mismanagement of things. So, but these are early days. But the fact that you've moved from 1915 to 1475, and Goldman Sachs Standard Chart has said that it will get to 1,200. Our own analysis shows that it could even do better as long as you do those things. One, you refinance your existing debt, you take care of the ways and means, and you do not need this kind of distractions like what's happening in the Delta state. The governor was just talking about it. Those kind of conflicts and misunderstandings, right, and insurgency, which will disrupt the oil pipelines and reduce our oil cash flow, is what we don't need at all. We need this as much as we need a bullet in our heads. So we need to do something about that. And that's why I'm saying that, to say that because the Naira is appreciated, and therefore it's going to be sustainable. It's only sustainable to the extent that you bring all the other factors. So you have a cocktail of measures, and that you must be serious and credible about it. I must say that there have been at least 17 or so circulars from the central bank, all of them moving in the right direction. So we think the Naira will exceed and will continue to go in that direction. But there's a lot of work to be done, definitely so.
Yeah, you talked about the inflation rate.
Yes.
Give us a sense of what this means. This is not a good news, it's a doom and gloom as far as the projection is concerned. And if this continues, it means only one thing, right? We do not want the England situation to happen to our economy.
Now, let me tell you, last time we spoke, we took 6 commodities. And when we looked at those 6 commodities, all of them were showing signs of red, danger, significant deterioration. But when we looked at those things today, this afternoon, you will see that a bag of rice, which was 95,000 at end of February, and that's it there, has come down to 88,000. Is that good news? 88,000 is a really expensive rice, which was 70,000 in December. For 88,000, we saw that green line. A loaf of bread has gone from 1,500 to 1,600. It has increased. Why? Because of the price of diesel, because of the price of wheat, and also because of the price of sugar. Then yam tubers, we are in inter-season. The yam tuber in February was 7,500. It's gone to 8,000. Planting season. And don't forget, there's a confluence of Ramadan and Easter coming together. Then we went to beans. That was the one that was flat. Beans was 80,000 in February, and it remains 80,000 this afternoon at Onyibo Market. Pepper, we've seen some strange happenings in February. Pepper was 85,000 naira a bag. Today, this afternoon, it is 120,000 as well. Some good news here. Eggs were 4,500 in February. It's now down to 4,000. Obviously, people are struggling there. But this is the picture. It was all 6 items all red. Now we have 2 in green, marginal green, 1 flat, and 3 in red. This is also bad. This is bad news because people have actually run out of money to buy these goods. And you talk about inflation, you have the minimum wage. The negotiation is going to take place soon. If you don't take care of that professionally and in good with sound economists to manage this process, that could be what I can call a poison chalice for the Nigerian economy.
Oh, interesting. So good news as far as food is concerned, because that is very important. Although some of our friends are fasting, but yeah, they need to break their fast in the evening. That doesn't mean that the food prices should go off the roof, but they're actually getting out of the roof then. But then you look at it, that this good news needs to be sustained. And for those of us who love to eat our yam, either as pounded yam or fried yam or whichever form, we still need that price of yam to come down, the pepper to come down, bread to come down also, same way we've seen rice coming down and eggs coming down. But how can we curb the rising rate of inflation, Mr. Ruwani? What is the solution?
Firstly, I think that there's a transitory inflation and there's a structural inflation. So when you see core inflation increasing, which we are seeing now, it means the structural problems are there. The transitory problems, right, and the transient inflationary factors can be solved one way. One, that is import some food, commodities, that's rice, sugar, and some other, import them short term and use it and dump it in the market, and that will bring price down. Follow that, obviously, with the appreciating exchange rate. So those who have brought in goods at the high exchange rate will have to now buy dollars at the low exchange rate and average it out, and that will happen. But we need to have forex inflows. Where are the forex inflows going to come from? For the first time in the history of this country, cocoa price is above $8,000 a ton. And we are expected to do 250,000. So that means instead of having $600 million this year, we could, with God willing, that we could end up with about $2.3 billion. We have LNG, and then we've had oil today, yesterday going as high as $87 a barrel. But the oil that we have is either being stolen, being mismanaged, or something like that. So there's a lot of housekeeping that needs to be done to make sure that, one, the leakages reduce.
But Mr. Sorry, apologies, Mr. Ruwani, to button. We're seeing a trend under the Emefiele CBN. Now, in the Cardoso era, one of the criticism of those who say, look, CBN does not have any business in some of the things that he did under Emefiele, the rice issue, the this or that. But we're seeing also the CBN cutting the Ministry of Agriculture. Is that the right way to go, though?
No, the central bank, if I read it right, central bank donated its fertilizers or something they had to the agencies that deal with it. I think the primary responsibility of the central bank is to maintain price stability, and that's what is being said. The rice pyramids of the past, to a large extent, it was a hoax, actually. There was no rice in them and all that. And so let's forget that period in the history of monetary policy in Nigeria as one that was a bad dream. It was a dream turned into a nightmare. So, but where we are now is that we need to go about it systematically. That is using interest rate cuts, using the packaging of the ways and means, securitizing of those debts, allowing interest rates rise to a point where at least it does not discourage production, but at the same time it encourages savings. Those are the things that happen. But one is that there's need for new money. New money is a function of confidence. Confidence is a function of consistency in policy. These are the things that I think the administration has to come to terms with. We have a trust deficit in this country as policymakers. When we say one thing today, the next day we change it. The next day there's no consistency. So the reality and the honest truth is that when people begin to see consistency, they stop panicking. When they stop panicking, they buy less in quantity, but over a longer period. So you will now begin to see the price of those commodities, even like diesel. Diesel is now down to 1,450. It went as high as 1,700 about 2 months ago. One, because first of all, people don't have money to buy this thing, and secondly, people are now becoming more efficient and rational in their consumer behavior.
Well, I mean, give me an understanding of you are saying that if there is an increase in crude oil production capacity in Nigeria, I know we're oscillating between 1,100,000, 1,200,000 barrels per day, which is some good news since this government came into office. But then we need to do more to even be able to meet up with our quota. But again, you asked the question whether or not the Dangote production will help our cause in any way. And there are those other little and smaller refineries and the modular ones who are producing on Nigerian soil. Are they able to help? Hearing also Port Harcourt, Kaduna, those Warwick refineries that are being fixed, and they say they will come on stream at some point in the next few months. What good news could come out of those?
No, I think that the Dangote refinery has the capacity of producing products for the Nigerian market consistently and quality. The thing is that it's not a silver bullet that is going to solve our problems. Every time you must differentiate between the downstream activities, which is about refining and all the other things, are midstream, and the upstream activity, which is about exploration and production. Where we are producing oil are in the deep water and the deep offshore, and the deep offshore and the offshore and the deep water assets. In those assets, we have the production sharing contracts, where the Nigerian government revenue take from those are much lower. The places that we have the joint ventures, where our own stake is high as much as 60% with the operators, those are the areas where the above the ground risk, like what happened in Okwama, is destroying and disrupting our activity. As long as those activities continue to take place, as long as the people in the oil-producing part of the Niger Delta, because there's a general misconception that everywhere in the Niger Delta is oil prolific. No, there are areas within the oil-producing areas that are marginalized. And if you go there, you saw what happened. You would see that those guys have nothing to look up to. If you publish the 20 Nigerian richest men, none of them will come from that area, while the crude oil comes from there. So there's the environmental degradation, there's resource control, there's optimization of the use of resources, there's mismanagement, there's fraud. All of these things happen until you address them. And first of all, allow these guys who want to divest from the land and swamp and empower them to come in and reinvest some serious dollars in the offshore. There's a confluence between political misunderstanding and economic degradation. I think that has to be addressed.
Yeah, I still have one or two slides for us to go, but I still have just about 2 minutes to go. So, Mr. Iwani, you are one of those eggheads and those billionaires who sat with the president, and you had a conversation. And you were in Abuja, and I saw you in those pictures. Were you able to tell the president how ailing the economy was?
Yes.
What is the prospect of your group in advising the president and the government of the day?
I think, quite frankly, the meeting was useful and productive in the sense that it was a full and frank meeting. There was no husband. And for those who do not have special interests, I think we made it very clear that there's this problem, both structural, transitory, and that there's a lot of work to be done in terms of restoring the credibility of government in Nigeria. Nobody believes anything government says. So I think it was supposed to be a short meeting, but it lasted much longer. And there was no asymmetric information. Everything was put there. People had their motives for being at that meeting. But quite frankly, my understanding that the president got a lot of information, balanced information, truthful information, and it depends on what you do with it. But ever since that meeting, in all fairness, I've seen some baby steps moving in the right direction in terms of getting things, making things better. But what I must tell you is that this is a long journey. This is a long journey, and we must fasten our seatbelts for the bumpy days ahead.
Wow.
Nobody should deceive you that we are going to have a silver bullet here. It's not going to happen.
Wow.
If that's what you're believing, then you have a long day ahead of you.
We need to go, Mr. Iwani, but those solutions that you have preferred here, in 60 seconds, can we be able to go through them, please?
Yes. First of all, we have no choice. Economic failure in Nigeria will lead to political calamity. It cannot happen. So we have no choice. Everybody has to come together and lift this thing. Secondly, I think that because the capacity has to be found, because there are a lot of people in government, but not everybody in government has capacity, because that is the whole thing. So it's the president's job to look for the people with the capacity and sincerity at the same time to do what is required. But I'm optimistic that sooner or later we'll get there, but it's not going to be an easy ride. Like I said, you better fasten your seatbelt because the road ahead is very bumpy.
You were saying the MPC, you're looking ahead of the next MPC, they must be able to make tough decisions. You are making a projection there, isn't it?
Yes. I think that the MPC will do what it has to do on Tuesday. I think we'll be seeing something like 150 basis point increase just to ensure that these things get sustainable. So you will see lending rates up, you see the policy rate up, and then also there'll be recapitalization. There are all sorts of measures to ensure that the banking system itself does not go into weakness. I think the government of Central Bank is quite capable of, and he can see that is tough, so he knows what to do. So basically, we are looking forward to consistency in policy, and that the exchange rate continues to appreciate, and that should give some, at least, temporary comfort to Nigerians.
All right. Now, thank you so much, Mr. Iwani. You've told us the truth as Nigerians that no silver bullet. It's going to be a long, tough, painful ride. So Nigerians should brace up. No politicians will come and put the icing. We know what we are up against, and we know what we have on our hands. Thank you for telling us the truth about the state of the economy and how everybody needs to tighten their belt. But we hope and pray for our country, and we believe that better days are ahead. Thank you so much. Ms. Makiwani is the CEO of Financial Derivatives and Economics. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
I appreciate it. That's our show for tonight. I'm Sean Akimale. God bless Nigeria.